Hi, you guys. How are you? There's lots of stuff happening right now. I hope you had a good weekend. The weather is warming up. Welcome, newbies. If you're new to my channel, I'm so glad that you found me. Please know that I read tarot cards totally different than other people for the most part because I integrate it with astrology. You don't have to know astrology at all. Just listen to the story, okay? Are you ready for this week? It's going to be a rockin' week. There's a couple of things I want to make sure absolutely that I share with you before we get into this Capricorn moon right now because it is angling Washington, D.C. so huge right now from the third quarter moon that we had the other day, which is a crisis point. I can feel this churning. And there's a ton of international news that is breaking. Like, I can't keep up with the headlines at all. So we have to go there. But first, you guys, this reading from Friday night's live, when there was a plea to do just one more of our lunar contracts, Spirit chose this card for all of you on intentions and clarifying your focus as we head into the new moon. It was such a beautiful message. I was stunned by how spot on this was about keeping your focus. Don't look back to the scariness, the stuff we've left behind. The warmth of the sun of the universe is guiding us forward. We have messengers. Keep going, keep going. We're together. Here's the thing. Do you guys remember during the winter? I think I've said this 2 or 3 times, and I know I've been asked this question in the comments. You know, when things are really swirling and dark and crazy, heading up to the election, after the election, just very scary times. And I was asked, but when is it over? And the best answer I could come up with was, it's going to end. I know it's going to end. I know that we're in darkness, but I keep getting this vision that tells me we're done. And it's kind of like, you know, people are coming out. I kept seeing the ground is dark and kind of steaming, like if something had gotten bombed out or something, but it was an all clear signal that we could come out, and people were coming out and together. You guys, this is that picture. I realized that today. I was seeing people emerging from their cocoons. We've been hibernating, we've been isolated, but it was all clear to come out and be safe, and that everyone was terrified to come out and scared, but it was kind of like the air was clear and clean, and we could come out. This matches that vision. And what I realized today, they're walking on ice. Winter, things are still frozen. Things are thawing out right now, but the dark fields that I was seeing that was steaming, that's because nothing's growing right now. I was doing yard cleanup and I was raking stuff to see what good plants are coming up through our yard because it's our first year living here. And the ground was that dark brown black color in that vision. There were some steamy areas because everything is melting and now evaporating. You guys were there. We're here. Spirit chose that card, and you guys were there. The other vision I had today was Biden. You know how he always has his eye on the ball, and he's just aware of everything that's going on, and he's centered and focused. Almost kind of like he feels like he's focused in a way, down to earth, connected to earth, but almost like you're in church when you're with spirit, pure guidance, with a whole heart, and really trying to bring the divine here in guidance. He's kind of amazing with this aura about him and his presence and his determination and his focus and it's almost like a quiet, prayerful focus that he has throughout the day, but nobody like picks up on that just because he interacts with everyone. But but it's a mindfulness that is present all the time. But so today he was a little bit different with that, in that he was relaxed. And so then the vision then became, we've crossed a threshold somehow, the United States. Whatever plan he has, we've crossed a certain threshold that we don't have to be worried about anymore, because that's been checked off. Things are in progress, but we are in a new position. I don't know from what to what, but it's very clear and decisive, because he has had this perspective for at least half his presidency, for the last several weeks. So that was good. There's another vision I've shared with you guys, how all of a sudden, I think this was very early on, within the first week of Biden's presidency. Like, I was seeing like a person in the middle of the night getting on, like a jet fighter, or a guy in the military who, flies jets, fighter jets. But he's just always been on the tarmac, just parked, doing nothing, but prepared and ready to go. He's got the signal. And then I kind of would see, like my mergoat, my little fairies, mermaid goats. They don't have beards. Okay, GM Dave, is that you who said that, or Michael? They don't have beards. They're sweet. But then I would see kind of like a mergoat figure, but with sunglasses on. Kind of like the emoji of the smiley face with the sunglasses on. But, this is dark. It's basically black and white coloring. And then I just stopped tuning into that, because I'm like, okay. Oh, and then one point they kind of took off, but there was like nothing going on. There's been nothing. Well, that vision came in full Technicolor, 3D, dynamic, fluid, fast imagery today of someone in the sky flying fast. It was no longer a two-dimensional, it's a multi-dimensional something in action happening. And then I realized that's because the news came out today that we had US B-52 bombers flying over the Middle East today, alongside the air forces of Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the Qatar Air Forces. And so I did, terrascopes on that. What I got with the US B-52 bombers flying over the Middle East, there were 3 fours that showed up. Who they are? The B-52 bombers, the 4 of Wands, representing the new White House. There was a 4 of Pentacles stability that had to do with the office of the President of the United States. And then there was a 4 of Cups, an offer, contemplating something, with the military, reversed. Reversed meaning they're taking action with this 4 of Cups. So those 3 fours together indicates industry, diligence, divine presence, and abundance. So that's the messages of the US B-52 bombers flying over the Middle East. A new White House, stability, and a military with diligence, industry, abundance, and a divine presence. With the air forces of Israel, Saudi, and the Qataris. What was interesting is that the US B-52 bombers flying over the Middle East, representing the White House, because the first house has to do with someone's identity. There were several things that also had the 4 of Wands in the first house of identity. She did. I call her G-string because YouTube does not like me to say G-string's name. She had that in the first house of identity. We have a new White House. Also, that Harry and Meghan interview. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I caught the last, but holy cow. And their story they were talking about, I just kept getting that there's such a heavy Russia influence there. So the 4 of Wands was G-string. The royals and Putin had the White House. The US 52 bombers flying over the Middle East, with those 4 countries. And then let's go to Iran. Their Foreign Minister Zarif, his statement on no negotiations with the United States, he did not have the 4 of Wands reversed. He has it upright, meaning he's not recognizing the new White House. These are the things where the White House showed up as the most important thing giving life to activities today. Our White House. Back to the vision I had. This card with the all clear, and that fighter jet, that pilot who was so isolated, came into full Technicolor Dolby sound system because flying over the Middle East, and Biden seemed as though we crossed a threshold. There are some things I did not get to cover that are highly significant right now. The Wuhan asteroid at the full moon. Now you know that Wuhan asteroid is a biatch, and that's being really nice. That Wuhan asteroid is the energy behind 9/11, the 1918 Spanish flu, Pearl Harbor, the freeze over Texas. It's dynamic and devastating. That asteroid in Donald's chart is at 16 degrees Sagittarius. The Wuhan asteroid, named for Wuhan, China. Sometimes I call this woo-woo or the WH asteroid. At that full moon, Donald's Wuhan asteroid was conjunct the asteroid Potomac, as in the Potomac River. The Potomac are the United States defenses as it shows up for me, because remember, the Potomac River had everything to do with Gettysburg. Which tarot reader is just talking so much about Gettysburg and Lincoln this year? Yeah, me. I even talked about him at dinner tonight. But these two things have been at 16 degrees since the full moon. Donald's warring asteroid going head to head with the Potomac. What has happened? Donald's been losing since then. We got, his tax returns in New York. He's lost several other things. I could just go on and on and on. There's been a war. There's an ongoing asteroidal rage war going on behind the scenes. USA has been winning. He's got nothing. But wait, this 16 degrees, so important. Because you know what else is happening right now? So this is Donald's this is where Wuhan was when he was born, 16 Sagittarius. But right now, transit Wuhan asteroid, it's at 20 degrees Pisces. That is conjunct the planet Neptune right now. So this is why we can't see this war, because it's hiding behind the fog and mist of that planet Neptune. Neptune, also think of, his name isn't coming to mind, with his trident, not Hades, it's on the other one that lives, the god of, anyway, from the oceans. He will surge up and battle as well. And now he has this warring asteroid with him at 20 degrees Pisces. This 20 degrees Pisces right now is, okay, so there's this war going on. This is also oil and petroleum. Okay, so there's going to be wars going on with oil and petroleum too, because of this asteroid. It is in square to Donald's warring planet and USA defenses. This makes sense, because of everything coming out of the Middle East right now. Our jet fighters over the Middle East, and wait till you see this list of news that's happening right now in the Middle East. So there's like this war going on. Donald versus the United States. The United States is winning. Now there's a war in the warring behaviors in the Middle East with Neptune, those oil producing countries. But here's the thing. So this is squaring that, which is tension. Squares are Mars. Mars are aggressive fighting. These things are an exact square to Donald's natal sun. His sun is 22 degrees Gemini, so his sun. His natal north node, his life's purpose, where he should go, is at 22. I think it's also 20 degrees Gemini. He is getting his assholio kicked, you guys, right now. And not only is his life force, his soul force, his expression of his son, King Donald, is getting its butt kicked, so is his natal moon at 21 degrees Sagittarius. The moon represents the physical body and the emotional body. This is squaring his body. So he does not have a lot of vitality going on with his sun, his heart, his soul force, nor his physical body. He is being beaten down so badly by these wars he's losing and far away. And his natal moon is conjunct the south node. The south node is the thing that you release. You're giving up. Physical body emotions. Neptune also has the power of dissolving things. That's why Pisces is such a healing sign, because it blurs things and it makes things become whole by dissolving the things that are no longer relevant. This is kind of like wasting away for him. In Mar-a-Lagoville. Yeah. This is all happening. Now, the reason why 18 minutes later I wanted to do this reading is because right now, right freaking now, because right now this is the Taroscope that I threw, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. This was the Taroscope that I threw, and I was like, okay, I have to make a video. And this is the video that you're getting. Remember, at the third quarter moon, I said, whatever's happening in Washington, D.C., everything is balancing like a fulcrum beneath the balance of Washington, D.C. It had to do with stuff in the law and lands far away, contracts, monies, negotiations, and here's contracts and governments. That's all that's bearing down. We kicked it off with the COVID rescue bill being signed. That was a shocking yay news. But there's a lot more to come. Now, all of these planets, because these are the skies over Washington, D.C. We only had Mars and Uranus, explosive information, things happening in the skies over Washington, D.C. This is all we can see because all of the planets are on, all these planets have set in the west like the sun. So it's day on the other side of the world. You guys, here we go, Washington, D.C., right here. Think of the midheaven, the sun in the skies right above, Washington, D.C., like if this is the sun. Well, if you poke this all the way through to the other side of the world, that's the gravitational pull, the gravitational force. I wish I had one of those I need another prop, but I don't have one. Like one of those arrows that people wear on their heads that are bent in the middle so that if you put it on your head, it looks like you got shot through the head with an arrow. I know, so random. If I could put that on here, it would enter here. It would enter on this side over Washington, D.C., and it would come out over here because it would come in through the side of the sun. Well, the highest point of the sun that day. It's nighttime. Midheaven. On the other side of the world, the sun is over here. But this is the gravitational pull. So What's on the other side of Washington, D.C.? Because we've got all these planets over here. Where are we? Oh, look at that. What's on the other side? We've got China, Myanmar, we've got Laos, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia. We also have Iran, Yemen. Yemen, Iran, China, Myanmar, all that. That's where all these planets are. They're all over here at that quarter moon. So, all the news is peaking right now while everybody is asleep in Washington, D.C. And what do we have here but the local news reporting all this stuff? That this Iran foreign minister Zarif was like, no negotiations with the United States until all illegal sanctions are removed. He's not talking. That's someone else talking. And China urges the United States to remove all anti-Iran sanctions ASAP to save the JCPOA. It's like, shut up, China, really? But there is a theme going on here. I have to read you these headlines because this is what's happening right now. And it's important because the moon right now is angling right down here, and it is impacting the ascendant and the descendant. The life of DC this week is getting a big blow to it from what's happening right now. And what's happening now today? Well, over here there's Haitian protests. There was that Guinea equatorial blast because of negligent storage of dynamite. It might as well be a fertilizer plant as far as I'm concerned. What happened was there was a drone that hit an eastern Saudi port from Yemen. They targeted the Saudis' ARAMCO. Remember, I said this was going to be related to oil because of Neptune. There's wars going on right now. There's drone attacks. Apparently, there's a video that Israel lied about Iran being involved with a shipping accident. The Yemen forces launched a new attack on the Saudi oil facilities, and then they added military targets. Because remember, Mike Pompeo added Yemen to the foreign terrorist list with Cuba before he left. We all know that was a joke, but apparently it was to help the Saudis. And we also know that when Mnuchin left, he was working with Jared for some global fund that he was working on in the Middle East in the last days of his term. Then President Rouhani urges the EU to avoid threats or pressure, urges the European Union to avoid threats or pressure in any negotiations with Iran. Israel army killed 3 fishermen off the coast of the besieged Gaza Strip. We also find out that Israel defied international law, that there's a Jewish fund that financed the Israel land grab in the West Bank. The PM Hatami threatening. This sounds so North Korea. Listen to this. So it was like Iran could raise Tel Aviv, Haifa, if the Israel regime makes any mistake. I don't know what mistake that is about, but we have now threats from Iran back to Israel. Yemen reports that Al-Qaeda is fighting alongside Saudi forces in this town Ma'rib. The Saudis then retaliated. Their warplanes launched airstrikes on SANAA, now inflicting damage in Yemen. Myanmar has calling for extended nationwide strike, and then Yemeni forces shot down a Turkish-made Saudi spy drone. I don't expect you guys to remember this at all. I know I sure as heck can't, but it's all related because the moon right now is 15 degrees. I just wanted to do a reading on the moon to see what was going on, but I had to give you all this information, background information. The moon right now is 15 degrees. It's getting ready to go It's over here in this area of communications, agreements, contracts. Remember this, everything in DC is balancing on contracts and communications and negotiations right now, and the law. In about 6 hours, the moon is going to dip under the feet of Washington, D.C., and I swear it is going to feel like an earthquake tomorrow with whatever bursts forth. Because not only do we have all this warring stuff going on in the charts that's been going on for 2 weeks, we are in eclipse click energy. We are squaring the eclipses from this summer. So like a third quarter moon is an eclipse, is a crisis point. The first quarter and the third quarter are crisis points in the 1 month lunation. We are at a crisis point from those eclipses over the summer. For example, George Floyd was killed during the eclipses. We're at an eclipse click point. They're getting ready to select the trial, go to trial, and select the jury, and there's protests. We're revisiting a lot of things, and we're going to see where this all sits internationally. And I'm 29 minutes in, and I'm going to go post this one. I will post a part 2 so that we can figure out what this Capricorn moon is doing right now, because it's huge. Okay, see you soon.